What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the JTW Sports Show. We got Will, TJ back with us, guys. How you feeling on this beautiful Thursday afternoon?
I am great. I'm great. I'm ready to talk about the first half of the NBA season because it is coming to a close. Tonight is the last night, actually. So I'm ready to talk about it.
Skin?
It's crazy to think about. We're halfway through the NBA season. Football just ended. We're about to reach the lull, boys, where there's no more sports for a month or two.
Baseball, but it might be longer than that because baseball
still hasn't reached their agreements yet.
Yeah, that's gonna be interesting to see.
Yeah. So I mean, there's been a lot going on, but yeah, like y'all said, it's coming to an end. It's kind of depressing. Obviously, no more football. That sucks. We're all football players, so that kind of hits us hard. But we also do love basketball, and that's what we're going to talk today. I kind of want to start it out with give me y'all's three most surprising teams in the NBA in either conference. I feel like it's a good way to kick it off. Obviously, it's as y'all are thinking, I'm gonna speak, but it's right around the All-Star break. It's just over halfway through the season, and there's been a lot of stories, a lot of interesting, players and teams that nobody's really been expecting, either good or bad. So, I kind of want to hear you guys' three teams that surprised you the most.
I can go first if you want to.
Well, hold on. Can I ask what order are we going in? We going 3, 2, 1, or is it just kind of like?
Oh, there's no order.
Okay. Okay. Well, that's why I was okay.
All right.
I was just making sure.
I'll go first here. I'm gonna say one of the most surprising teams this year has been Jimmy's Atlanta Hawks, and not in a good way. This team, I was thinking about this earlier. This team made the playoffs last year, made the conference finals. Yes, you could say, they had some luck or whatever involved.
No, none.
But every team had luck, obviously. In any sport, you have a little bit of luck. And they brought their whole team back, and they just have not looked the same. And I don't know what it is. They've picked it up as of late. They are, they're only 5-5 in their last 10, but they have been playing better lately. Trae Young was a little slow to start off the season to what he has been the last couple of years. Their main issue is Clint Capella is not playing that good this year, and they just can't seem. It's like they have too many of the same player, in my opinion. And so that's why I have them on
wing spot.
Yeah, at the wings, they have too many of the same guys who do one or two good things, but nobody that's great. So they're on my list for that. Another team that's on my list for most surprising, because it is surprising, is the Memphis Grizzlies being third in the West. I thought that they would I thought they would make the playoffs this year because they obviously made the playoffs last year after the play-in and whatnot, but I didn't think they would be this good. I mean, they are 41-19, which is the third best record in the league. Ja Morant has taken that next step that I don't think anybody expected him to take it this high this soon. I mean, he's averaging 26, 5.8 rebounds and almost 6.9 assists, so basically 7 assists. And I mean, they have a good collection of young players, but also they have a couple, older players sprinkled around in there. And I really like that team. I do think that it's a little early for them to make any noise, going on far. So they're my top three. And then I don't want to say the Lakers because that's too cliche.
It's kind of a boring pick right now.
Yeah, it's kind of a boring pick. Honestly, I would probably go with the next team is the Cleveland Cavaliers. They are 35-23. I'm not gonna lie. Memphis is one of those teams we expected them to make a jump. Cleveland, everybody was like, what? How is Cleveland good? Especially since they lost Colin Sexton early in the year. I thought that was going to be a big hit because they started off good, and when they lost him, I was like, oh, they're done. They'll fade off or whatever. And they've kept it up. They have 2 All-Stars. So they're my top 3 for sure.
No, I love that list. I love that list. I mean, I was thinking some similar ones when I was going through, but
I was close to putting TJ's Raptors in there, but
well, speaking of the East, I have 2 teams for my top 3 that are from the East. I'm gonna go with the bad one first, and then I'm gonna go with the good one. Not bad, but just of the surprising. I'm gonna go with the Brooklyn Nets.
Mm.
I'm gonna go with them. You said it was cliche to say the Lakers, but the Nets had almost the same. Yes, they just traded away James Harden, but let's be honest, with how much talent that was on that team to rival the Lakers, to be 8th in the conference, and the 3 players that you brought in to win a championship, one of them left. The other one can only play half the games, and the other one can't do it all on his own. So there's
Kevin Durant's been out, and so
I know that's what I'm saying though. But I'm saying though, like if you take away the 2, it was all up to him. But now he's out.
And last night, I don't mean to cut you off, but last night they actually won a game, and they didn't have Kyrie, KD, or obviously James Harden now. But like, so like they are a good team. It's just like
what's going on.
I'm with you on that one.
So the other surprising on the good side to me is the number 1 team in the East, and that's the Chicago Bulls. I'm gonna go with that one just because we all said, when they made their offseason trades, we're like, this team, if they gel right, they could be something special. Right now, they are the number 1 East going into the All-Star break. That could lead to good things. That could lead to terrible things. Who knows? Like I've said, I've kept saying it on the show. I said it last season. We don't find out who wants to play till after the All-Star break, because at that point, it's all right. We're just trying to make playoffs. To be honest, I have those 2. I don't really have a third. I'm like trying to think of a third.
Well, it's kind of tough because the ones that Will said are also good.
Yeah. And then like he said, like saying the Lakers would be cliche. Like there's so many problems going out in Los Angeles that it's kind of like, all right, what are we doing here? To where I could honestly see the Lakers not making the playoffs. I could see it potentially happening.
I really could, especially Anthony Davis got hurt last night, so that's a big injury that they have to deal with now.
Right,
once again.
Once again, what's new, right?
Once again. So Jimmy, let's hear it.
Made a paper.
Yeah, these are all good picks, and it's hard to come up with some new ones, and I kind of want to have some new ones, but I don't know if I'm gonna be able to, because these are such good ones. I was originally thinking the Atlanta Hawks. Obviously, it's my favorite team, and we made it to the Eastern Conference Finals last year. Obviously, we lost to Giannis. We lost to the Bucks. They were really good. I wasn't expecting to win that series, but I was fully expecting to be around the 4-5 range for this year. Obviously, it's not over yet. We're about 6 games out of the reach for the number 5 seed. So it's not out of the equation. It's just not going to happen. Let's be real. So I'd say the Atlanta Hawks for the same reasons that Will said it. And then, I wanted to say the Bulls too, because I love the way that DeRozan.
Yeah, see, I didn't put the Bulls in mind because, you could say they're surprising, but we knew that when they got Lonzo and when they got DeRozan, that they were going to be
a good team.
And we knew that, but you could say the same thing for. Everyone was like, "Oh yeah, the Lakers are going to be good because they're getting all these acquisitions." And now look, we're saying, "All right."
But I guess you could say the Bulls are surprising because of Lonzo's been out for the last 2 months. Levine's missed a couple weeks here and there, and DeMar DeRozan's been balling. So that is surprising. But that's why I didn't have the Bulls on mine.
Yeah, it makes sense. Obviously, we all knew it was going to be a good team. Now, the number 1 team in the Eastern Conference, I don't think any of us really would have predicted that.
No, we all thought it was going to be the Nets.
Exactly. Exactly. And I think to differentiate from you guys a little bit, the next team I'm going to talk about is the Warriors, actually. Now, the Warriors, we knew that this team is a good team. They've been a good team for years, but, they've had a lot of injury deal. Obviously, Klay Thompson, one of the best two-way guards in the league. He was out for 2 years, different injuries. And I didn't know how they would react to him being out or to him being back. And so it kind of like the way that the team gelled without him, and the way that Jordan Poole came in and was fantastic next to Steph, and Steph was playing fantastic at the beginning of the season, MVP frontrunner for weeks. And then he hit quite a slump, and he just wasn't great. He was still shooting his shots, which, shooters shoot, keep shooting your shots, but he wasn't making them, and that's a problem. But they're still the number two seed in the West. I think they're about six games behind the Suns. The Suns have been fantastic this year. But it kind of did surprise me a little bit, and how a lot of people were expecting Draymond to not be as good this year. And I think he's proved a lot of people wrong in the fact that he is still, in my opinion, probably, if not the best, one of the best defenders in the league. He's top three in my opinion. If he had a little bit more size to him, I think he'd be number one without a question. People might disagree with me on that. That's okay. You guys are wrong. Okay. So yeah, I mean, I guess it's not really what I was expecting when I was asking this question for myself. But I guess the Warriors is actually, a pretty surprising team, the way that they've gelled without, one of the best shooters of all time.
Okay. I like that. I was looking at the standings here, and Atlanta is sitting at the 10 seed in the East, 9.5 games back from first place. Portland is the 10 seed in the West, 23.5 games back from first place. That's how different the conference is. Usually the West is the better conference, but now I think it's the East.
I think it's 100% the East.
Speaking of the best, I have one question for you real quick. You don't have to give me a long explanation. Who has been the MVP of the season so far?
I want Jimmy D. I want to hear Jimmy's so I don't say the same.
All right. I'm going to go with the supersized Kobe Bryant, and that's Joel Embiid. You might be calling me crazy right now, but Joel Embiid, now not for calling him MVP, for calling him supersized Kobe Bryant, but Joel Embiid, I think, has been the MVP this year. That's due to other injuries. I think Kevin Durant was on pace to be the MVP. Obviously, injuries held him back. Yeah, Joel Embiid's been fantastic. He is incredible. He's a big man that has some qualities. His mid-range is fantastic. He can make plays like Kobe Bryant was making. I just saw a little TikTok thing of Kobe Bryant, Michael Jordan, and Joel Embiid pulling the same moves. It was kind of cool. So that's why I said that.
Ball players.
Yeah, I know, for real. So I'm gonna go Joel Embiid.
Okay.
As of right now, this is my second NBA season, so I don't know how it works compared to NFL. I mean, Aaron Rodgers won it 2 back-to-back years for the NFL, so I don't know if that's ever happened in the NBA. But I can see
TJ's on his second-year contract right now.
I can see Jokic winning it again this year. He's been playing well. I think when the season started, everyone had kind of Steph up there between 1 and 2, but I think Jokic can play well. I think Embiid's dropped a little bit personally, where he's dropped to probably 3 or 4, to be honest, instead of being in that 1 or 2 spot for the MVP race.
Wow.
Yeah, so I can see Jokic winning it again this year. But like I said, I don't know how if that's ever happened in the NBA. This is my second season, so I guess I'm gonna find out.
No, yeah, it's happened plenty of times.
I figured it had, but it's kind of like one of those I don't want to say it and then
those are both good picks. The other day I tweeted out, I said, Joel Embiid is the MVP of the season so far, and then he had probably one of his worst games of the season following that tweet, which was funny. I think that the MVP of the season so far, with the way he's played recently, I don't know why it shouldn't be DeMar DeRozan. DeMar DeRozan, for some reason, has been playing ungodly this year. He's averaging 28 points per game, shooting 51% from the field. He's averaging 28 points per game, and get this, he shoots 1.8 threes per game. That is the lowest out of, obviously Embiid, Embiid takes more than that. That is the lowest by far. The closest one is Giannis, who averages 3.8 per game. If you're anybody in the top 20 in scoring in the league, he's averaging 5 rebounds, 5 assists. He's having, honestly, probably his best year as a pro. I love DeMar DeRozan. He's just bringing that old school game back, and I don't see why he shouldn't be MVP.
Yeah, I think
they are the number 1 seed in the East. The reason I'd say possibly not Joel or Jokic is because their teams are in the middle of the pack in the conferences. DeRozan's kind of above that.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that, and I love DeMar. He's been fantastic. We just talked about him a little bit, and I think one of the statistics that popped out recently was how he just beat Wilt Chamberlain's record for was it consecutive games or
Yeah,
was
it
it
was most consecutive 35 point, at least
50%
50%
field goal?
shooting. He had set he broke it. He had 7 last night, and honestly, it wouldn't surprise me if he just keeps that streak going.
Yeah, that's incredible. That's absolutely insane. He's on a tear right now. I would not be surprised whatsoever if he wins MVP.
Oh yeah.
So we touched on it a little bit earlier when it came to injuries, and I want to know. We also touched on the team with Anthony Davis's injury that I didn't see if anything came out to the extent of it. It looked bad. Let's Does that injury affect their playoff chances? How great do you think it affects them as a whole? Because we saw last year in the finals without AD, LeBron couldn't do it all on his own.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, they had other injuries on the team, but let's be honest, this is already a Lakers team that has been struggling. They didn't make any trades whatsoever when it came to the trade deadline, where everyone was like, "What are you doing?" And now AD goes down. So if you're looking at it, what are y'all thoughts going into the second half of the season if this is a long-term injury or a season-ending injury?
Well, they say he's going to be out for at least 2 weeks, is what they're saying right now.
I feel like that's with every injury.
Yeah.
They're like, all right, it's gonna be at least 2 weeks until we know more.
He was out for a little over a month between December and January. He finally came back, and he had a couple good games. His last couple games weren't so good. And this team's just not a good team. I wouldn't be surprised if they made the playoffs and somehow LeBron willed them to the playoffs, but whoever they play in the first round, they will lose to if they make the playoffs. They might even lose the play-in game, honestly. They're going to make the play-in just because the teams below them aren't that good, but they will not win a playoff series.
Yeah. I mean, I kind of think similar to that. I'm going to stick with what I said, I guess a couple weeks ago, simply because I just don't want to switch up on myself. But I'm not going to bet against LeBron. I do think, they're sitting at the 9th seed in the West right now, and the 10th seed is this Trailblazers team that's not very good. And then there's the Pelicans, Spurs, Kings, Thunder, and then Rockets. That's the remaining teams. They're not good enough to make the play-in even, and so I don't think that there's anything stopping them, especially from the play-in game. But I don't think there's anyone that's going to stop them from making the playoffs because, the Timberwolves, Clippers.
I personally think that they could stop themselves from making the playoffs.
Yeah, if they're playing, okay, but again, like I've said before, it's playoff LeBron at that point, and I don't think he's going to let that team lose.
Yeah, well, apparently the last couple of years he's turned on playoff mode LeBron, 0 dark 30 or whatever they say, and he hadn't done shit. So
really,
yeah,
won a championship in the
I
past.
didn't.
Okay. Anyways, wait, I just lost some brain cells. So so I don't know.
He played in a bubble. That shit didn't count.
Wow. Okay.
Wow.
Interesting. So every team that played just didn't. Okay. So I'm still gonna say that they're gonna make the Western semis. Now losing AD, I don't think AD's. I think AD's gonna be back obviously by playoff time. He might get injured again, and that might change my answer later on. But he's gonna be back.
I mean, Will said it perfect. He's made a paper.
Yeah. No, seriously.
Yeah,
But,
last night I said he's softer than baby shit after eating a mattress all day. He's just, dude. Yeah, he just can't stay healthy, and it just like Stephen A. Smith said it perfect. After the season, the Lakers should explore trading him because if they want a future, because LeBron's probably got maybe 2 years left with the Lakers.
LeBron's got however many years left it takes for Bronny to get drafted.
That's what I'm saying. With the Lakers, though, he probably only has 2 years left.
Yeah.
In all honesty, and so if they want to maximize their future, but also maximize playing with LeBron, you can't have somebody that's getting hurt constantly. That's just
No, I'm with you. I'm with you. I think you can get some really good young talent.
And if that means bringing in a couple lesser players than AD, but you could still have a chance to win, then by all means, I think that's what they should do.
I agree. I think I think they're gonna have a big future, a bright future because of the players they have now, and it's gonna be shaped into that. Now they don't have very many picks, which sucks, but I think they can trade AD for a lot of picks,
Yeah.
And maybe one good role starter.
Well,
But,
and Russ is going to take his option next year, so they'll probably try to trade him too. And they may have to do the stuff where they trade him for 2 not very good contracts, but you got to do what you got to do.
yeah, exactly.
Did that answer your question, Todd?
That answered my question perfectly.
Okay. I don't have anything else for today. That was some pretty good talk. I'm just excited for the All-Star game coming up and all those festivities. And the second half of the season, that's always, like TJ said, when people crank it up, that's when stuff starts getting they get down to the nitty gritty. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. They turn on an extra gear, and so
Yeah.
it's going to be exciting to see the Hawks turn it on and and become the 5th seed in the East and win the NBA championship. That'd be kind of cool.
Okay. Let's make
Alright.
a bet. Let's make a bet.
All right. So on that one,
Who's gonna go? Who's gonna go further in the playoffs? I bet the Hornets do.
I bet the Hawks do.
I bet the Raptors do.
The Raptors are in the running for the playoffs.
Yeah.
I know.
They're not rebuilding. They got Scotty Barnes and took off.
Yeah, they're crazy.
All
All right.
right.
Well, this is fun. We'll see you guys in the next video.
Oh yeah. See you guys.
See you guys.